we come out of a third game and remarkably healthy, and that's the secret to winning football games.
I always hide my eyes, so like doctor my eyes. And speaking of doctors, how about that segue? Let's talk about some injuries here that we may or may not have, or how we'll treat them. We got a Dr. Bruce who's in Miami, Florida with us today. Dr. Bruce, now a couple of banged up guys. Dallas Goedert went out of the game with a shin. Slay, we were worried about a little bit with the back, but he came back in. So when you're looking at injuries like that, let's talk about Slay first with the back. As a doctor, what are you checking out here?
Well, one thing, firstly, I want to say hi to everybody. I must tell you might want to rewatch the Dolphins-Bills game. Incredible finish. I attended the game, and I also had an iPad on my lap, so I was able to watch the Eagles. And that was beautiful. But with the low back, one of the main questions is, does the pain radiate? Okay? The pain radiates, it's a little more ominous. That's when we think about a disc injury or nerve tweaking. If a pain is in the back and it's axial, we think about a simple back strain, even a sacroiliac problem. I'm sure you being a golfer, Mike, you know what it's like. Sometimes those little dimples will be painful, especially in football. So with SI injuries, we treat them with local injections, with physical therapy, heated ultrasound. So thankfully, apparently Slay was his old self after the game. But with the low back, we want to do, of course, a neurological exam, and presumably it would be normal. And you really wouldn't have to do an MRI unless there was concern about radiating pain.
Hey, Doc, Goddard leaves with the shin injury. And when you're talking about shin injuries, what are some of the first things that you're looking for to find out how minor or severe it could be?
Well, that's a great question, D-Gun. When you can check on yourself. Basically, even very muscular people, the tibial bone, that shin bone is exposed. And the players have shin guards, but they don't go all the way down. There's a little space there which is exposed. So if there is enough blunt force directed to the tibial bone, you could have a stress fracture, you could have a non-displaced fracture, or even a displaced fracture. Also, the muscles over there are part of the anterior compartment, including the tibialis anterior, the peroneus longus muscles, the brevis muscles. So those muscles are very fragile, and there's a nerve that lives right next to the shin called the peroneal nerve. So as a doctor, we have to anatomically examine the patient. Hopefully this will be merely a soft tissue injury, a bruising of that area. A more significant hypothetical injury, not thankfully with the Eagle today, would be a compartment syndrome, where you actually have swelling of the compartment and where the doctor needs to actually go in and release and decompress a compartment. And that's, the most severe form of a shin injury. But I think understanding the fact that the bone is rather unprotected and exposed, understanding the muscles and nerves of the area, doing an exam. The Eagles have done a terrific job of preparing the team, the training, the strength staff. I almost think of myself as the Maytag repairman, and it's a good thing. The Grim Reaper never has to show up because we come out of a third game and remarkably healthy, and that's the secret to winning football games. And also, the fact that you have a 24-0 lead enables you to rotate your players in and hopefully not take physical chances in the second half.
Doc, I got nothing, man. My thing is, you using all these big words and making my head hurt. But to your point, they are highly, healthy, healthier than any other team, that they're going to face coming down, in the next couple of weeks. Just keep doing what they're doing. Keep training and keep doing what they're doing, to keep their guys healthy. And they'll be just fine. But, there's a lot of injuries going around the league. A lot of guys are missing games. A lot of guys are, out for the season, so on and so forth. For a change, I should say, the Eagles are in a position where the injury bug hasn't bitten them yet. Let's knock on wood.
Yeah, it's been great. Watching the Dolphins game, Tua had a very scary thing. We might have seen on the break there. Tua was sacked. There was a intentional roughing penalty, and the back of his head slammed against the turf. And it's about 100 degrees there in the turf. Even though it's a grass field there in Miami, it's not the best grass field. So Tua was stunned, and it reminded me a little bit of Deshaun Jackson. Remember that time, Seth? where he got up and he started stumbling and fell over.
Yep.
So Tua literally stood up and almost fell down. They went into the locker room and he cleared concussion protocol. And in typical Tua fashion, he came back and threw 2 dimes, 30-yard dimes in the second half, and they ended up winning and beating Buffalo by 2 points. Really an exciting game. Another concerning injury is Mac Jones, the quarterback for the New England Patriots. A really ugly-looking ankle injury today. The x-rays are negative. That means there's no fracture. But it could have been a dislocated ankle, and the quarterback is so important that, yes, the Eagles have been lucky, but looking at Tua and looking at Mac Jones, they're the 2 that I focused on today across the league.
Doc, thanks very much. We're kind of losing the transmission down there. It's not synced up. But how about the Doc? He's in Miami. He's watching the Dolphins game live, and he's got the Eagles on the laptop. That's dedication.
And that's modern technology right there. Just think, back 20 years ago, we couldn't even do that, Mike. No. But I wanted to ask the Doc, unfortunately the transmission betrayed us, but I wanted to ask him because there's a story going on down in Miami now that's picking up a lot of national steam, and it's about the quarterback down there, Tua. He walked to the locker room. He was in concussion protocol. He went back in the game. So now the league has already begun an investigation into this as to why Miami allowed him to go back into the football game.
I bet they are, because the normal protocol is once you go in that blue tent and you're in the concussion protocol, it's hardly ever one of those situations where you clear protocol to go back in the game. Once you're in concussion protocol, you're pretty much done for the day.
Yes.
So I've got to imagine that there's a whole lot of investigation going on down there, them trying to figure out, did they rush this guy back out on the field? Somebody's in trouble. I can say that.
The way that game ended, by the way, the Bills lose to the Dolphins, and the Bills are driving and get the field goal that will tie the game, and the clock runs out on them. They were played. It took up a lot of seconds. They had no more time out. They were 2 yards away from the field goal line, the safety line, and the clock runs out on them. So the Bills lose to the Dolphins down there today.
Well, mismanagement at its finest right there.
Andy Reid, I think, was on the side.
I said on our Sports Take show on Friday, I felt there were 3 undefeated teams that could fall by the wayside today, and 2 of them did. Baltimore lost to Miami, and Kansas City loses to the Colts of all teams.
Yes, the Colts.
And then you have this one, Green Bay could upset Tampa, and then tomorrow night, the Giants could lose to Dallas. So you could have 4 undefeated teams.
Yeah, but you know, the funny thing is you think about the rhetoric that's been going on. You know, Kansas City and Buffalo were looked at as the creme de la creme in the AFC. And it was presumed because they were playing so well that, you know, projected, and I get it, we're only in the second week,
right?
You know, a third week, that the eventual Super Bowl champion was coming out of the AFC. And all of a sudden, both of them fall today. Now Miami, you know, can be possibly looked upon as that preeminent team in the AFC. And what that means and what that looks like, you know, for that conference. And now you got the Eagles undefeated, you know, 3-0 over in the NFC, and what that means long term, you know, in the NFC division.
I tell you what, people are paying a lot of attention to the Eagles now. There's no question that they're. You know, you hear national commentators, and it's always Eagles. They're in that conversation.
Well, they should be.
Yeah. They should be.
They listen. They should be in the conversation, and people should be talking about them. Okay, because you got a young quarterback who, at the end of last year, was looked upon as maybe not the answer. Maybe we need to go and draft a guy. He comes out. He throws for 250 yards in his first game. No touchdowns. No interceptions. Comes back the second game. You know, throws for 300 yards. 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Shows up today, throws for almost 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, and you should be having that conversation, because the teams that are the creme de la creme in the NFC division, they are pretty much the Rams and the Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And those 3 teams today, they will all probably walk away at 2-1, and the Eagles will be the only team left in the NFC, probably, unless the Giants unless the Giants beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The only
I know
team
people
will be 3-0.
are probably watching this maybe on a Monday. I got the Giants winning tonight.
What?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yes.
No.
I will say.
Yes.
I will say this. Though. I will say this. Number one,
let me tell you something. The line is 1 point.
Yeah.
That line gets my attention, Seth. The line sometimes talks to me.
That's because you're betting the game. The line's got your attention. I'm coming from a reality standpoint. That defense will expose Danny Dimes for what he really is. Okay?
Reality has nothing to do with winning money on a bet.
Okay.
Well, keep in mind also the Giants will have their 2 edge rushers for the first time this season in that game on Monday night. And you look at the way the defense, Wink Martindale has that defense playing at an exceptional level right now. That's going to be a good game. I can't wait to see that.
Did you just don't remember I told you so.
Well, how about I tell you this?
I'm not saying who's winning the game, but
the Green Bay Packers were +1 going there. That's the line also got my attention. I took the Packers. How am I doing?
Hey, listen, I hear you. I hear you. But you know what? I like, there is just no way in the world that Danny Dimes and that offense is going to do anything with that Dallas defense.
With that kid named Micah Parsons bearing down on him?
The Dallas defense is the only thing in this entire NFC East division that worries me. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not even worried about their offense. I'm worried about that defense, man. That defense is legit.
Yeah, it is. But I'm worried about the Dallas offense with a kid named Cooper Rush running the offense more so than I am Dak Prescott.
If the Giants win, will you allow me to wear that flower lapel pin next week?
Hey, you got to wear that jacket again because it matches your jacket.
It does match it.
I tell you what.
Good.
If the Giants win that game next week, okay?
Cheesesteaks for everybody.
No. If the Giants win that game next week, you know what I want you to do? I want you to screenshot your suit for Sunday on Saturday, and I'll show up with one of these for every suit you wear for the rest of the season.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good to me, too. It is the Pile Hockey Eagles postgame show. We're not done. We're coming back. We got a lot of things to talk about here, including game balls. We're giving out game balls. That's coming up back after this.